Okay, so good morning, colleagues. Thank you very much for joining this lab. I hope you can see the screen in front of you. I don't see anyone reacting to that, so I hope you do see that. If colleagues can please help me to admit people as they come in. Maybe Wei, I think you have that sort of power in Teams, so thank you so much. So good morning, colleagues. Welcome to this SIDS Partnership Lab on advancing science, technology, innovation, and digitalization through higher education in small island developing states. This labs is one of the 7 labs happening today as part of the 2025 Global Multi-Stakeholder Small Island Developing States Partnership Dialogue. The dialogue itself is one of the key platforms in follow-up to ABBAS and the Samoa Pathway. It's happening today from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. here in New York, and this is one of the labs in the margins. So thank you so much for joining. I'd like to first express thanks to our co-organizer, Commissioner Black and the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, and UNESCO for collaborating with us in organizing this lab today. So first, a few housekeeping sort of notices for our meeting today. So please, if you can keep the cameras on, that's always very nice to see the faces. So that would be great. And kindly mute the microphones when you're not speaking, so there's no sound coming across from background noise. We are recording today's meeting. This will be to spread this today's lab to stakeholders more broadly. We will publish the recording later on the forum website. This does not apply to the breakout rooms. The breakout rooms that we'll be having as part of this lab are not recorded. So please, feel free to be very open and informal in these rooms. And kindly use the chat for networking purpose to introduce yourself to other participants and then share any other pertinent information as you see fit. We have a very good program today. Then we'll hear from Commissioner Damon Black from the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, who will frame the lab today and the topics that we're discussing. After that, we'll have a spotlight for UN. We have 3 presentations from different angles and corners of the UN system, including science, technology, innovation overview, the higher education sustainability initiative, and the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development. After that, we'll turn to the breakout rooms. We have 4 rooms on the topics today: national policies and enabling environment for STI and SIDS. 2 is building capacities, the role of higher education on building capacities in driving implementation in these areas. 3, foresight tools and big earth data for the SDGs. And the 4th room is tackling industry's responsibility in driving positive impact through innovation. And here we'll ask the participants to choose the room that you feel most interested in. After the breakout rooms, we'll hear some key messages that came out of these rooms, and we'll have an open discussion which will be facilitated by Commissioner Black before we wrap up today's session. Over to Commissioner Black to please introduce today's session and framing the debate to take us forward. Over to you, Damien. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ola. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This certainly is a major milestone, and we want to commend and thank the United Nations Department for Economic and Social Affairs and the varying partners who join us this morning for this critical engagement. I think that we are all appreciative of the fact that the urgent need for the sustainable development and survival of small island developing states is defined by their extreme and disproportionate vulnerability to external shocks, particularly those induced by the climate crisis. SIDS are a special case for development, facing existential threats despite contributing less than 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions. There are critical imperatives related to SIDS. One, geographical vulnerability. Small island developing states, a group of 39 states and 18 associate members, are characterized by geographical vulnerability and heavy reliance on fragile marine and coastal economic ecosystems. Climate crisis impacts are significant. Slow onset events, sea level rise, ocean acidification, warming, and increasingly intense extreme weather events such as hurricanes and cyclones. Economic devastation is another feature that has to be acknowledged. Between 2000 and 2020, the direct and indirect impacts may have cost SIDS a total of US $141 billion. For example, Hurricane Maria in 2017 caused damage to the Caribbean island of Dominica, more than double its entire gross domestic product. Almost a decade later, the country is still struggling with a large debt burden of over 150% of GDP. Jamaica was recently hit by Hurricane Melissa. It made landfall on October 28, 2025. The World Bank has estimated total damage at 8.7 billion US dollars, 35 to 40% of Jamaica's GDP. Meteorological analysis linked Melissa's extreme rapid intensification to human-caused climate change, underscoring the shift from predictable risk to existential crisis. So we are here today against the background of that data to discuss the survival, not just the development of small island developing states. As outlined in the Antigua and Barbuda agenda for SIDS, SIDS remain a special case for sustainable development due to their unique vulnerabilities. Our mandate, therefore, is quite clear. We must move SIDS beyond the perpetual cycle of post-disaster recovery and into a position of anticipatory resilience. The engine for this transition is the strategic application of science, technology, innovation, and digitalization. The mandate for resilience through these four elements and foresight. To ensure our survival, SIDS must transition from reactive disaster recovery to anticipatory, resilient development. This, it seems, requires our anchoring policy in evidence, long-term thinking, and leveraging the appropriate technological tools. Amongst these, as we will discuss today, science, technology, innovation, and digitalization. Together, they represent the essential mechanism for building climate resilience, achieving sustainable development goals, and facilitating economic diversification, for example, the blue economy. The ABAS underscores that SIDS faced substantial structural challenges in using science, technology, innovation, and digitalization to drive economic growth. Digitalization, we should appreciate, should serve as the backbone for building a more secure future for SIDS. This is not merely about connectivity, but rather it is about capacity building in areas such as risk reduction, enhancing economic resilience, building, developing, strengthening our tertiary education systems, focusing on resilient infrastructure, including sound, safe, and climate resilient transportation and communication infrastructure, focusing on service continuity, and certainly where government is concerned, ensuring governmental agility, incorporating e-government and digital solutions. Foresight is critical as well. We will treat with the matter of big data and strategic foresight through today's session, and we certainly look forward to the outcomes of the discussion in these groups. Strategic foresight allows us, with the application or use of big Earth data, to pinpoint exactly which low-lying communities, for example, will be inundated by a 2-degree centigrade sea level rise, mapping real-time the degradation of coastal protections like coral reefs and mangroves. We use these, however, to see, anticipate, and to define preferable futures. It is therefore appreciated the conversation today as we seek to contextualize the response to the climate crises and its impact on SIDS. This today gives us an opportunity to critically review, to critically engage in discussions, and to share our thoughts so that the recommendations and outcomes will enhance and strengthen the dialogue going forward. We do appreciate, as I was reminded yesterday during the course of a major meeting here in Jamaica, that whilst we look at these areas broadly, collectively, science, technology, innovation, and digitalization, the critical challenge remains for many SIDS to be able to provide and invest the resources to operate, to implement, and certainly to achieve the goals and desires associated with what we will discuss. Many are today struggling to even resource and operate basic national development plans, such as to meet the SDG agenda, let alone to achieve some of the desired technology and strategies. Therefore, this affords us an opportunity to engage in mutuality, mutual discussion, and partnership as we proceed. I therefore welcome this partnership lab and what it portends for our development. Thank you, Ola. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Black, for framing our lab so well today. It will be quite interesting to see how through the different interventions and the different tracks through the breakout rooms, how we can take forward some of the ideas and innovations in these areas. So we look forward to that. Let's move forward then in the agenda. So then we'll turn to the second point, second agenda item, which is to hear from the UN system on different areas. So we'll start with our colleagues in our colleague in DESA, Mr. Wei Liu. He's the focal point in our divisions for science, technology, and innovation. And after that, we'll also hear from the Higher Education Sustainability Initiative and the International Decade of Science moving forward. So Wei, please, over to you. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair Ola. Good morning, Commissioner Black, distinguished delegates, colleagues, and thank you to all participants joining from across the small island developing states, higher education institutions, partner organizations. On behalf of UN DESA Science Technology Innovation Team, it is a pleasure to contribute to this important lab, which sits at the heart of two critical agendas, the Antigua and Barbuda agenda for SIDS and the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. This dialogue is also a timely contribution to the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development, which our sister organization UNESCO calls for global mobilization of science in the service of society. In SIDS, the challenge of climate resilience, digital inclusion, and sustainable economic diversification are not just interconnected, they are urgent. Science, technology, innovation are not merely tools in this context. They are essential levers for systematic transformation. Our work through the UN Technology Facilitation Mechanism, which UN DESA coordinates, emphasize that science, technology, innovation must be strategically directed and inclusively governed. This is where STI for SDG roadmaps comes in, not as a standalone plans, but a multi-stakeholder tools that connect data, foresight, finance, and partnerships to national priorities. For SIDS, this approach is particularly powerful when combined with big Earth data, and geospatial intelligence. As we saw in the recent capacity building workshop with International Research Center of Big Data for Sustainable Development Goals, SIDS, where the tools allow SIDS to move from reactive monitoring to anticipatory governance, using satellite data to model climate change risks, applying resilience infrastructure, and track SDG progress with unprecedented precisions. But data and technology alone are not enough. They must be embedded with a strong science ecosystem, which is where higher education play a pivotal role. Universities and research institutions are not just center of knowledge creation. They are innovation bridges. They connecting students, researchers, and policymakers, as well as the private sector and industries. Through initiatives like Higher Education Sustainability Initiative, HESI, we are working to strengthen this ecosystem by fostering curriculum innovation, apply research, and cross-sector partnerships. The newly launched HESI Community of Practice, especially those focused on research and innovation and partnership and engagement, offer a structured space to co-design solutions for SIDS-specific challenges. As we look ahead, our collective task is clear. First, anchor science technology innovation roadmaps in data and foresight to ensure they are responsive to both current vulnerability and future opportunities. Second, align higher education with ABA's priorities to build the next generation of innovators, data scientists, and sustainability leaders. Third, foster mission-oriented partnerships that bring together government, academia, industry, finance around shared challenges, from ocean resilience to inclusive digital transformation. In closing, let us use this lab to strengthen what we are calling the SIDS network on big data for development policy actions. Many of the members of the network attend today's event. Through such collaboration, we can ensure the STI is not an abstract concept, but a lived reality, driving resilience, inclusion, and sustainable prosperity across all small island states. I thank you. I look forward to the dialogue. Over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Wei, for that, and to anchor these discussions really also in the global processes and other national sort of realities around STI. So thank you so much. So now I'll turn over the floor to present the Higher Education Sustainability Initiative with our colleague from UNESCO's International Institute for Higher Education, Ms. Bosen Lili. I understand we have a pre-prepared video for that presentation. So please go ahead, Lili, and share that video. Over to you. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. We're very honored to present the United Nations Higher Education Sustainability Initiative, UNHISI, dedicated to advancing higher education's contribution to sustainable development. HISI was launched in 2012 in the lead-up to the Rio Plus 20 conference as an open partnership between various UN entities and the global higher education community. For over a decade, HISI community has included over 1,400 universities, higher education networks, student organizations, and higher education affiliated or mandated entities. All have existing initiatives contributing to global sustainability efforts. Key areas of contribution include the following: integrating sustainable development into teaching, research, and operations, promoting sustainability-focused research and innovation at national, regional, and global levels, supporting sustainable communities through collaboration, outreach, and partnerships, and participating in HISE initiatives through global regional consultations, action groups, and the annual HISE Global Forum. As 2030 approaches, new global challenges call for renewed dialogue on how higher education can shape and support sustainable development. In July 2025, we launched the HISE Partnership Framework and Roadmap during the HISE Global Forum as a special event of the high-level political forum to strengthen HISE community's capacity and deliverables towards stronger coordination of contributions toward the 2030 agenda and beyond. In HISE Partnership Framework, we hope to achieve 4 main objectives. Gather insights. We hope to engage higher education community to identify emerging priorities, knowledge gaps, and opportunities for transformative action. Highlight innovations. We hope to showcase innovative practices in teaching, research, and engagement that advance sustainable development and inspire broader adoption. Strengthen partnerships. Foster collaboration across academia, government, private sector, and civil society, especially promoting South-South and triangular cooperation. Inform policy. We hope to provide actionable recommendations, tools, and good practices to guide policymakers on how higher education can best contribute to the SDGs. In terms of activities, beyond the flagship HISE Global Forum, we also have extended to organize a networking forum, thematic workshops as communities of practice, and supporting UN processes on 3 key focus areas. Specifically, teaching and learning, referring to integration of sustainability into curricula, pedagogy, and institutional practices, and exploration of trends and challenges in education for sustainable development. Research and innovation, referring to promotion of sustainability-focused research, strengthening the science policy interface, and supporting evidence-based decision-making. Partnerships and engagement, referring to enhancing academia's role in building sustainable communities through outreach, collaboration, and multi-stakeholder partnerships. We hope the framework can lead us all to extended engagement of higher education in sustainable development, and we are committed to working together to publish annual HISE Sustainability Snapshot to be shared with wider stakeholders. Leading to the roadmap, we have established 3 HISE COPs with the goal to promote a collaboration, knowledge exchange, sharing innovative solutions, and co-developing policy recommendations. The 3 COPs are corresponding to the 3 focus areas. COP1 is on teaching and learning to advance higher education for sustainable development through curricula, pedagogy, and capacity building. COP2 is on research and innovation to accelerate scientific discovery, applying research and innovation for sustainable challenges. COP3 is on partnerships and engagement to strengthen cross-sectoral collaboration across academia, governments, industry, and civil society. We hope to have 20 to 30 core members for each COP who can contribute to regular technical meetings, recommendations, and outputs. We also open to all stakeholders, the supporting members, to participate in open consultations, peer learning, and knowledge sharing activities. So if you are interested in joining HISE community, you can scan the barcode on the screen. Thank you, and we look forward to working with each and every one of you.
The next speaker is Mr. Xiaofeng Hu. He's the Director of the Division of Science and Policy and Basic Sciences at UNESCO. He has also shared a video.
Thank you to UNDESA and the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission for convening this important SIDS Partnership Lab. I'm pleased to introduce the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development, proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly and led by UNESCO. Today's focus, mobilizing higher education, science, technology, and innovation and digitalization for the Antigua and Barbuda agenda for SIDS ADAS is exactly at the heart of what the Science Decade seeks to advance. I would like to share 4 points. First, the Science Decade matters for SIDS. The Science Decade offers a global framework to strengthening national science system to improve science policy and governance, advance science literacy, basic sciences, and expand research cooperation and access to scientific infrastructure. For SIDS, these foundations are essential. As the lab's background notes emphasized, ABAS requires not only access to technologies, but the ability to anticipate future risk, use bigger Earth data, apply foresight, and integrate this insight into STI roadmaps that guide resilience, long-term development pathways. The Sun Decade was proclaimed by member states precisely to help countries in building these capabilities. Second, higher education is engine of STI and digital transformation. Higher education play a crucial role in the sustainable development transformation of SIDS. The Science Decade framework strongly encourages reinforcing this through work that strengthens STEM education and science literacy, improves research and innovation ecosystems, and building institutional capacity for data science, geospatial analysis, foresight, and technology assessment. Higher education institutions, together with youth and researchers, serve as innovation bridge, linking scientific knowledge with government decision making. This aligns perfectly with SIDS' priority on climate resilience, digital inclusion, and sustainable economic diversification. As part of this strategic plan, the Science Decade is actively engaging SIDS institutions, ensuring that they have the tools, data, and networks needed to support national ABAS implementation. Third, initiatives endorsed under the Science Decade will benefit SIDS. Under the Science Decade, a growing portfolio of endorsed initiatives directly supports the aspiration highlighted in the lab's concept note, especially helping countries use data more effectively, anticipate future risks and opportunities, strengthen digital systems and digital skills, and building stronger research and innovation capabilities. Collectively, the endorsed initiatives such as the Digital Sustainable Development Goals Program, Science Missions for Sustainability, and UNESCO initiative of remote access to lab equipment will help SIDS to overcome long-standing barriers in scientific facilities, digital readiness, and technical skills. They will also support the STI roadmap development and anticipatory governance that this lab calls for, ensuring that SIDS can move from monitoring today's data, shaping tomorrow's development pathway. Fourth, further strengthen cooperation with higher education sustainable initiatives, HESI. The Science Decade is helping closely with HESI partners to embed sustainable development in scientific research, strengthening communities of practices, and mobilize higher education networks to support ABAS priorities on SIDS, digitalization, and innovation. Together, these platforms can support SIDS in developing STI roadmaps, building digital societies, and expanding data-driven decision supporting systems, which are central objectives of today's lab. In closing, the Science Decade is a unifying platform to mobilize science, technology, and higher education in direct support of ABAS. We are committed to working with the SIDS government, universities, and UN partners to build stronger science ecosystems and translate knowledge into strategy. We look forward to the Science Decade Global Conference in July 2026 as the key opportunity to highlight progress, enhance our partnerships, and ensure that the voice and priority of SIDS resonate throughout the decade. We are eager to deepen this partnership and drive our shared agenda forward, and I wish you a productive dialogue. Thank you.
So let me move on to the next segment here. Can you confirm that you see the screen? It looks like it's showing.
Yes.
Great. So now we have reached a stage where there's opportunity for all the participants to engage. We have 4 rooms, as we have outlined in the beginning, as you can see here on the screen. Room 1 deals with national policies and enabling environment for STI in SIDS. In each room, we have a facilitator, and in some cases, we're also afforded with a respondent for this room. So in the first room, we have Ms. Latoya Clark from the Planning Institute of Jamaica. The second room deals with capacities around higher education, building capacities for impact. Facilitator is Professor Satesh Bidase from St. George University in Grenada. Respondent is Professor Edward Hwiding from the University of Bergen. Room 3 deals with foresight tools and big earth data for SDGs. Facilitator is Professor San Chong Chang, Head of Development and Cooperation Office at the International Research Center of Big Data for SDGs. The respondent is our colleague, Ms. Asima Adam. She's the Interregional Advisor for, sorry, that's the wrong title, but she will introduce her actual title. This is a typing, but she's an Interregional Advisor in our department in DESA. For the room 4 deals with industry's responsibility in driving positive impact through innovation. Facilitator is Ms. Philo Magdalene from Protect Our Planet, and respondents is Dr. Ms. Sarah Kandil from the American University of Sharjah. So I'll just move to this screen just to give you a little bit context on how each room will operate. So there is an introductory statement by the facilitator to introduce the theme and the framing of the topic, the challenges that are in front of us, and highlight why this topic is important to ABBAS and SIDS. The respondent will provide a short 1 to 2 minute reflection on the topic, offer possibly any concrete example or innovation, and also highlight the relevance to SIDS. Then there is an opportunity for participants to engage, provide their reflections. What we ask participants to do is to do a quick introduction, just who you are, the institution, and where you're from, and then to focus on a key issue or any opportunity that you feel, and a challenge and opportunity that you see, a support that would be helpful for each area, any actions that you would like to offer as a proposed action, and for sort of to introduce different practices that you are running. We ask you to leave that for the chat. So I think that's a good opportunity to provide, to introduce any examples that you may have. But for the sort of the verbal input, to focus broadly on the challenges and opportunities for collaborative action. And then after the rooms will be run for about 30 minutes. Then we'll bring everyone back into the main room, where the facilitators will present sort of the key outcomes and anything that was discussed in the rooms, any promising action or collaborative joint initiative that could be developed as moving forward. And Damien will weave that into a very coherent narrative. So with that, I'll bring back the slide to the 4 rooms. So the way it will work, I will now create the rooms. And there are 4 rooms, so you just choose based on your interest. So you choose yourself, basically. You click on the screen, and then that will take you to that room, and you will have 30 minutes. So thank you so much, and enjoy, and I'll see you back in the main room in about 30 minutes. Thank Thank you so much. Sorry if that came as an abrupt sort of ending. It's difficult to know. I can't hear what's happening in the other rooms. So apologize for that. I tried to provide some sort of warning in advance, but I hope it was not too abrupt. So I hope you have enjoyed and have had some very interactive and dynamic discussions. So what we have now planned is that I'll hand over to Commissioner Black to facilitate sort of the reporting back session and to have an open dialogue on the way forward on these topics. I understand that Professor Satesh from room 2 have to leave early, or he might have already left early. So then perhaps Professor Widing can step in his place.
Yeah, he's asked me to do that, so we are
great.
good with that.
Good. Thank you so much.
Okay, fantastic.
So yes, so please over to you, Damon. And I know we only have 5 minutes left in the meeting sort of plan, but I think we can go over time. That's not a problem. I will unfortunately have to excuse myself now, but Wei and Lily are still here on the call and happy to assist you in anything that you need, Commissioner Black. So yeah, from my side, thank you so much for participating, and over to you, Commissioner Black, to facilitate the last session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ola. Colleagues, I trust and hope that we had positive engagement, interaction on the issues. And we now wish, as was just stated, to receive the feedback from the groups. I'm going to begin, therefore, with the group 2 that was just highlighted. That is to say, Professor Begipan Bedasi from Grenada and colleagues there who looked at the role of higher education. May I therefore ask that group's facilitator to share with us at this time? Give your feedback, please. The role of higher education.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, that's room 2. Thank you for that. I was working chronologically here, 1 to 2, but it's true. Yeah, we had a very wide-ranging discussion in the group, and the role of higher education can, of course, be construed in many different ways. We were briefly speaking about the access to knowledge, and saying that partnerships focused on SIDS should probably more than anything else promote equity in terms of knowledge. We were talking about the need for big data, the way in which, in one example, the National Statistics Office was working together with the higher education system to handle particular sets of data, but that also then involved the questions of access to big data, and probably SIDS partnerships between universities, both in different parts of the world, could, in a very important sense, promote that kind of equity of access. At the same time, we were looking closely at the role of students, particularly spurred on by our facilitator, Satesh, who convinced us in a very clear and present way how students can actually be the agents of change and innovation, and be those who bring transformation themselves. There was also an interesting reference about universities as being agents of multilateral diplomacy. The role of science in multilateral diplomacy is of key importance, and we were clear about the fact that maybe a shortage of knowledge needed by hardworking diplomats can be brought forth by perhaps also hardworking students and scientists. Finally, I don't want to take up too much time, but just say that we had an interesting example from Ghana focusing on higher education, specifically focused on teacher education. So in a sense then, let us look closely at how teachers can be trained to convey to generations of students the experiences of the particular challenges faced by SIDS. Maybe finalizing there, SIDS-centered research by researchers from SIDS could promote a certain approach as that would lead us to look at the global from a new and different perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent, Edvard. I appreciate that synopsis. We acknowledge, and I like the point that you made. We should just highlight that role of students, as agents of change, significant. One of the things is higher education is so hierarchical. You have the governance board and, the leadership team, and everybody comes down like that, all the way down to those ancillary workers who, are seen as being at the base of it all. But there is no room within the governance process, within defining teaching and learning, the quality systems, very often for students. They are here to learn, so sit down and shut up and learn. Thank you for that. So the role of big data is acknowledged, and then how teachers, their training to be change agents. I don't know if anyone across the other rooms would like to just make up one or two quick comments with respect to what we just heard from Edvard and the group on the role of higher education, building capacities for impact. Anyone? Okay. If not, we will go then to room 1. Latoya Clark.
Thank you, Dr. Black.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Black, and thank you, colleagues. We had a very good discussion in room 1, looking at the enabling environment, policies and governance structures to enhance STI, and how ministries, planning bodies, and regulatory bodies can collaborate with universities to bolster STI implementation. And we identified some issues in the sector, some issues that need to be addressed in order for us to move forward with strengthening STI, science, technology, and innovation across the tertiary system and enable its contribution to economic development and our national development objectives. So in terms of the issues and opportunities, we see where research and innovation is indeed taking place. And to some extent, there is the existence of governance structures. However, there is need for greater connection with tertiary level institutions, and there is need for greater engagement of students throughout the duration of their tertiary studies to promote research not only as an end product that contributes to their academic journey, but also to provide opportunities to advance that research in terms of developing entrepreneurship opportunities and being able to monetize these opportunities for their benefit and for the benefit of the economy. We identified challenges in terms of governance and also financing. There is a major gap in financing for capacity building across several areas. There is a lack of funding to sustainably scale initiatives. There is also need for greater collaboration across institutions, as we have identified that we are operating in silos, and there is need for collaboration to facilitate cross-institutional research and more joined-up action. There is also need for us to filter sustainable development into the tertiary level institutions in order to increase impact, and also importantly to build out the ecosystem for science, technology, and innovation, including systems to address natural disaster impacts, which is quite significant for small island developing states. We also identified that there is need to look at the timeliness of building out these ecosystems in order to respond to our national development challenges. So in terms of the support, to reiterate, we need financing to support R&D and also to scale up initiatives. There is need to invest in strengthening institutions, strengthening governance around STI in order to increase or improve that collaboration among institutions, break down those silos, and enable us to use our resources more efficiently. There is also need for support in terms of looking at how viable our tertiary level institutions are, and addressing some of the issues in terms of resources to develop the infrastructure and to ensure that our graduates, we produce our graduates at certain quality. There is also need, importantly, for us to establish infrastructure to capture data in order to support national development, as well as to build out our M&D systems further in order to support our national planning.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Clark. That was excellent. Appreciate the rundown of the discussion on these issues, looking at national policies and strategies, looking at the role of institutions, government bodies, the private sector, regulators, financing for capacity. The role of the students was again captured here. Invest in strengthening institutions and their governance, looking at greater collaboration across institutions as we certainly look to advancing the issue. How do we capture the data, but then also having captured the data or trying to capture the data, that we have the capacity to appropriately analyze and to learn the lessons, to be able to interpret what the data are saying, and therefore to be able to act appropriately. So we see some synergy and coming together with respect to what was discussed in room 1 and that in room 2. And so again, we do appreciate that perspective. All right, so thank you. Let me ask, therefore, the facilitator for room 4, which focused on the role of industry, to share the findings at this time. Room 4.
Yes, thank you very much. We began with identifying how the priorities and the language of industry differs from academia and other stakeholders. So this serves as a major challenge and where problems are very context specific. So solutions needs to rise from the context. So we had Dr. Sarah emphasizing how one needs to move to the ground to understand problems so that the solutions can be evolved in a cost-effective manner as well as in a sustainable manner. And we also had Mr. Bahu from World Intellectual Property Organization. He said how there is a project called Technology Transfer for Community Development in LDCs, which could be tailored and applied for SIDS as well. In this context, we see that many patents are not protected in least developed countries. So the project identified member states like Bhutan and identified problems faced by the government. For example, in Bhutan, they needed drying machines because they were having a lot of post-harvest crop loss annually. So what happened was there was a collaboration between different stakeholders, and there is a training to understand what about the available patent information in the area of technologies. So this led to them developing their own drying machine, adapting the patent to their local needs. So this example was cited to show how such tech transfer for community development can be adapted to a SIDS context as well. There is a need to join different kinds of expertise and create synergies. Currently, a gap was identified that even among UN projects, there is a tendency to go work in silos. So the programs must be better oriented towards each other to encourage synergies. And there was also a call for South cooperation among SIDS. So that was one thing that was talked about in the room. In terms of incentivizing innovation in SIDS, there was a proposal to encourage students with applied research, provide training in terms of licensing and intellectual property so that they have an incentive to innovate while at the same time are able to partner with the industry to solve the problems. So it becomes a win-win collaboration model where both researchers and industry benefit from intellectual property development through education. There was a need for a proper mechanism and higher transparency was emphasized. So yes, life cycle assessments to properly evaluate carbon emissions and environmental impacts was this was emphasized not just for industries operating at SIDS but at the global level, because consumption decisions and emission patterns in different parts of the world have significant implications on SIDS. And we also had a participant who spoke about how massive house cleaning is necessary, wherein there is there needs to be a screening and regulations on what kinds of products are allowed in and outside SIDS, so that there is more conscious innovation that takes place. Finally, there was an emphasis on reverse engineering traditional research funding, wherein instead of giving right away the funding to academics, you ask the industries to open up room for researchers, wherein they are allowed to go and identify problems and propose solutions and then are supported through funding. So such a model is already, this research-based model is being implemented in by the government of Sharjah. So this was also proposed as an example. If I missed anything, I invite Dr. Sarah to add in. Thank you.
Dr. Sarah?
Thank you, Philip. Thank you for all is good. You have stated everything. Thank you.
Excellent. And you, thank you. That was a excellent summary and report, joining the other two that we have already received. I really like the point that you made about the intellectual property, concerning intellectual property and how this might be protected, and the fact of the gaps in least developed states, countries, their legal system not being able to protect, well, not being able to protect, but then they focus an emphasis on it, and hence this is important. And also, significantly, among even UN projects, as you said, a tendency to work in silos. This mirrors the point made by Edvard and Latoya concerning the importance of collaboration. So finally, we want to go to group 3, foresight tools and big earth data. Please, Professor Zongkan.
Okay, thank you, the Mr. Dan Black. Good morning, the colleagues. I'm Zhong Changxun from the SIDS. In my honor to facilitate the breakout room 3. Our conversation was open and very constructive. We focused on both the opportunities and the real challenges facing SIDS in this area, guided by the tool called questions. How big data and geospatial tools can help anticipate risk beyond the traditional planning, and what barriers still prevent their routine use. Let me outline the key challenges we identified. The first, what we called the translation gap, means there's still a disconnect between the vast amount of the big data available and how this the practical application in ministries on the ground. The issue is not about the lacking data, but about local capacity to process and apply it. The second is the institutional fragmentation. Data efforts tend to be siloed between the statistical office, environment agencies, and the planning departments without strong governance or the coordination. And the third, access and the cost remain real barriers. Even when data is free, the infrastructure and the tools needed to analyze the high resolution data can be financially challenging for many the SIDS. On the more positive side, we noticed several promising practices and platforms such as the GEE and the Digital Earth, the Pacific and the SIDS, the SDG big data platform were highlighted as changing the game by lowering the barrier to the advanced data processing without requiring having the local investment. These platforms allow the users to visualize the risk and the trends that may not be visible in historical records alone. And in this context, Mr. Yu Bo say that traditional planning approaches are often not fit for the compounded and the emerging risk. And while historical data may suggest limited danger, integrated satellite data and the bigger data can reveal early warning signals, enabling early intervention, improve the disaster and preparedness, and reduce the future losses. And participants also highlighted that the importance of the starting with the pilot projects such as the coastal erosion or disaster and the risk modeling to demonstrate the tangible benefits and build the confidence for the warning attention. And a strong theme raised by the Ms. Azema was the role of the strategic foresight in complementing digital tools. She stressed that foresight helps translate data into the future scenarios, supports decision making in the visualizing the alternative future, and bring together diverse the stakeholders, include the young and the elders and the private sector. And she also emphasized the need to embed foresight thinking into the higher education, ensure that future the graduates and the public the servants are equipped with the foresight and the system thinking capabilities rather than rely on the digital tools alone. And in terms of the capacity development, our group agreed on the multi-level approach, and we need more learning by doing, training the hand-on, using the local data to build in-house expertise. A good example here is the capacity building workshop organized for the 2 years already by the UNDESA and SIDS and other colleagues. And we also strengthened the data governance following the framework like the UN IGIF with clear rules and sustainable the funding. And looking ahead, here are some of the proposed action for the collaboration operation. And for example, we would create an STI for SD roadmap for the SIDS and with SIDS and UNDESA. And during this discussion with the joint lawyers from the Vanilla raised important questions regarding the platforms that connect disaster data with the community's responses, particular tools that support social organization and community level action. And yeah, that's a conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You covered many areas, Professor, and I want to acknowledge them. I like the point that you highlighted concerning the translation gap. That is significant. And the reality of having this vast amount of data, but then when you move from there to the local level? And then do we have the systems at the local level to be able to appropriately use them to implement? But you highlighted the fact of the silos, as each of the groups has done. The tendency to silo in terms of practice, government agencies, planning entities, higher education entities, end users. Very often the data is here, the data is here, the data is here, but it doesn't come together in synergistically to be able to be a practical benefit. You highlighted infrastructure and tools, looking at financing as a major challenge. And again, that is something that was raised by other groups. Foresight thinking in higher education entities, how can we ensure that future graduates, the learners of today, and those who will be in the field tomorrow, that they are equipped with the appropriate foresight tools and approaches? And of course, you end with the statement, well, learning by doing. And the reality is, as this is something that is to be acknowledged, if it is that we wish to move forward, there is a reality that we can sit and wait as SIDS for the countries who have the resources to be able to do, but that won't happen. So how do we own our research efforts, as was just shared by Group 4, the whole matter of South-South cooperation, looking to our own resources to contextualize, to indigenize, and so as to ensure that the resources that we have are put to appropriate use. The levels of science, technology, and innovation, and digitalization, and the role of higher education. So thank you so very much. Would anyone from any of the other groups like to raise any final comments before I close? Any final contributions? Wei, Lily, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
All good.
All good, thank you.
Dr. Black, I
good?
think it's very, very comprehensive. I just want to follow up the Group 3's very rich discussion and acknowledge my colleague Azima is here for foresight tools. I think higher education can play a big role here. You mentioned about the translation gap. It's really the capacity. If the higher education can mobilize and train more data scientists, as well as even the policy, who also understand about the policy perspective, social economic impact, this really create vast resources to narrow the gap on this. There's a lot of work has been done to generate data. Also the existing programs. There was a colleague asking about how to utilize the platform and so on. A lot of good work out there. It need to have a reading awareness of the data and the platform, and good initiatives has already established along this way, and bringing more people, particularly young people, into this space, so that this can help to narrow these gaps, so to move these things forward. Over to you, Dr. Black.
Thank you. Thank you. Azima, would you want to say anything? You good?
I'm good, but I just want to highlight one point, that when we are talking about students, we need to make sure that we need to think about changing the mindset for futures thinking. So as Professor Sun highlighted, we need to embed strategic foresight in the curricula for higher institutions, but we also make sure that we start building that capacity for futures thinking, and for long-term planning. This change in mindset is really important, not when they are a politician, but at the very beginning, we need to start with change in the mindset for longer term thinking and long-term planning. Thank you.
Thank you. You are so right. So right. Well, the session has been quite positive, and I want to thank all participants. I particularly want to highlight the role of the UNDSA, Ola and Wei. I want to acknowledge Lily and UNESCO ASALC. Ola and Lily as co-chairs of the Higher Education Sustainability Initiative, and certainly all of the participants. The group facilitators, thank you so much. You have contributed significantly to the value added this morning. I want, in terms of the contributions through Latoya Clark, with her focus on national policies and enabling environments, Professor Bidayas and Edvard, building capacities for impact, the role of higher education, Professor Sun Zhongchang, foresight tools and big earth data, and then certainly Philo Magdaleni and Dr. Sarah Candil, industry responsibility in driving positive impact through innovation. As was previously indicated, the recording will be posted to the UN Web TV and also the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission YouTube channel, JTEC TV. We'll be able to have some follow-up with respect to the outcomes, these reports as presented. Permit me just to highlight a few things as we close. It is to be affirmed that with the increase in adaptation and adoption and application of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies, in particular contexts, it's important that we highlight that it is in the hands and it is in our collective interests, our personal, communal, institutional, and national welfare to make inclusive, responsible, and ethical decisions on science, technology, innovation, and digitalization. And critically for us, the data that is collected, analyzed, and used should be subject to the highest ethical standards. We acknowledge the role of higher education in science, technology, innovation. Higher education systems, as we have seen, need to change their governance models to allow for greater involvement by stakeholders, particularly students, their teaching and learning, research, community and industry engagement, management, and administration. Taken together, the higher education system has the potential, the greatest potential in SIDS to significantly impact how we face the realities and threats associated with climate change. How do we treat our curriculum, our skill development programs, solution designs, prototyping, transfer? We heard of the gap in terms of the institutions themselves and the extent to which national entities may or may not be investing significant R&D, but the institutions, the students, the researchers, can they scale up their projects? Funding is critical. What about the role of industry? Very often they are not engaged. Within Jamaica and the experience here, we have what is called a SAFE declaration that we wish to incorporate in the standards as we assess, monitor, and regulate institutions to ensure that their curricula, their practices speak to sustainability. How do we meaningfully engage young people and other groups such as children, women, indigenous peoples, persons with disabilities, displaced persons within science, technology, innovation, and digitalization? They have got to meaningfully participate. The traditional cohorts, the traditional sources of students for higher education, how do we engage in resilience and scaling up? Multilateral cooperation is significant, multisectoral coordination is critical, and without these, we will not be able to move ahead. So as we move towards the noble goals and aspirations that we spoke about this morning, SIDS cooperation, South-South, triangular cooperation, these are critical. How do we enable connections with non-SIDS contexts? How do we enable an understanding of the threats that we face as SIDS amongst these communities amongst the persons in the north who are not as threatened as we are. Strategic use of big data, strategic use and translation of the capacity development, capacity building. The Antigua and Barbuda agenda for SIDS represents an important 10-year agenda, one that allows us to seek to practically and meaningfully institutionalize the STID methodology to integrate foresight into the national planning cycle, to mandate the use of geospatial data for all capital projects, to establish clear policies for data sharing and management. Within tertiary and higher education, it has to be recognized the critical role to lead the capacity development and building, to design curricula that produce foresight-informed persons, graduates, as Professor Sun said, who are fluent in data science, climate modeling, and systems thinking. The research must focus on contextual knowledge, integration, and creating context-specific, appropriate technologies for SIDS. How do we engage industry, artisans, fishers, food producers, cultural and creative sectors, data science entrepreneurs? What is the required enabling environment? The climate crisis is a ticking clock, and we have got to ensure that we appreciate this challenge. Hurricane Melissa was a warning. Our collective expertise in science, technology, innovation, and digitalization offers for the most powerful lever we have to turn vulnerability into long-term viability. This morning, we have engaged in conversations, we have heard proposals, thorough considerations of science, technology, innovation, and digitalization to build resilient SIDS. The international community is committing to supporting SIDS goals of resilient prosperity. However, the pace has got to pick up. We must, in the meantime, exercise full ownership of this new agenda. Let us ensure that the progress of today does not compromise the possibilities of tomorrow. And so, having heard all of you and having engaged in this meaningful conversation, I say thank you so much, and I bid you farewell. Have a very great day, and we look forward to the finalizing of this video and its upload so that we can go further in the review of these outcomes and the suggested action items. So thank you so much. Have a great day now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.